bringing the oppo right to the
All right, give it up for Dr. Gary Lange. That was awesome. Very in-depth and very informative. That got my juices flowing. Okay, so next up we have Peter Sinclair. Peter is an internationally known videographer specializing in climate and clean energy. He's a lifelong resident of Midland, Michigan. For many years, Mr. Sinclair produced a monthly video for the Yale University School of Environment. He was a media director for the International Climate Communication Group, the Dark Snow Project. In that role, he crowdfunded many research trips to climate hotspots with international science items, as well as being a frequent speaker at science conferences, universities, colleges, and civic groups in the U.S. and Europe. He is now a consultant to a number of climate-centered nonprofits, as well as clean energy developers across the Midwest, promoting the clean energy transition. Ladies and gentlemen, Peter Sinclair.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm going to try to move this along pretty fast. I've got some video. I am a lifelong resident of Michigan, lifelong resident of Midland. I'm not exactly indigenous yet, but I'm working on it, 5th generation Michigander. And I've been working on this issue of climate for quite a while now. I'm going to start with a video I made a few months ago about our new Secretary of Energy. This is Chris Wright. He has been confirmed as Secretary of Energy. He is, of course, a fracking millionaire. About the time of his confirmation hearing, there was an article in the Washington Post that pointed to a video that he had made that had a number of what he called what are climate denial talking points. Mr. Wright is proving himself to be sort of a one-man climate denial army. And so what I did was I tracked down the video, and then I shared it with a friend who's a scientist, retired from the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, and you're going to see that here. In particular, the scientist is one who was an author of some scientific reports that Mr. Wright claimed to be quoting from. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory, so this is a good introduction.
There is no climate crisis, and we're not in the midst of an energy transition either. Chris Wright is an oil and gas executive and nominee for Secretary of Energy in the new Trump administration. What about extreme weather, you ask? We have seen no increase in the frequency or intensity of hurricanes, tornadoes, droughts, or floods, despite endless fear-mongering of the media, politicians, and activists. This is not my opinion. This is the facts, as contained in the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change reports.
Mr. Wright's claims and statements about what the IPCC report says are demonstrably incorrect.
The Washington Post reports that recent claims made by Mr. Wright about the findings of the IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, are incorrect, according to the scientists who authored the relevant research. Jim Cawson is a research scientist retired from the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and a lecturer at the University of Wisconsin. Dr. Cawson is a lead author of the most recent IPCC report, in particular the section cited by Mr. Wright.
It's remarkably simple to show this. Our executive summary in Chapter 11, which is extreme events and relationships to climate, very clearly in a very short time, 3 pages, with very easy to read bullet points, claims quite different result, his are not at all in alignment with what our report says. Our confidence with the relationship between climate and extreme events varies by what type of extreme event we're talking about. We have very high confidence in the relationship between temperature extremes. So that would be heat waves and, of course, things like Arctic outbreaks and things like that. That would be a cold extreme. In those cases, we use words like virtually certain. Virtually certain that these things are changing to become more intense or more frequent or both, and virtually certain that human actions have played a substantial role in this. So that's where we start. If we drop down to extreme precipitation events.
In one town around Valencia called Chiva, it experienced more rainfall than it normally gets in 1 year in just the span of 8 hours. So really seeing some horrific imagery coming out of that.
So we have high confidence that extreme precipitation events are increasing in intensity and frequency, and that human actions are playing a substantial role. If we switch next to something like drought, we still have good confidence that drought extremes are increasing and that human actions are playing a role.
And this is a result of climate change. You're seeing water scarcity, drought in some cases, and then when those torrential floods do come, the earth no longer has the capacity to actually suck up that water, and it just runs rabid.
When we get to tropical cyclones, which includes hurricanes, our confidence varies from medium to high.
It's just an incredible, incredible, incredible hurricane. It has dropped. It has dropped 50 millibars in 10 hours. I apologize. This is just horrific. The seas are just so incredibly hot, record hot, as you might imagine. You know what's driving that. I don't need to tell you. Global warming, climate change, leading to this and becoming an increasing threat.
Our confidence is high that climate change increases the intensity of storms, that it increases the proportion of the strongest storms, the Saffir-Simpson category 4 and 5 storms. It increases the amount of rain generated by these storms. These are the things that we have high confidence in.
Okay, so a lot of the stories you hear about climate change make you think of places that are far away, like the Arctic or the developing world, and I want to focus on some of these kinds of extreme events that we're seeing increase right here in Michigan. How many people were around for the tornado warning that we got just the other day? Pretty rare in this area, certainly pretty rare in Midland. I can only remember a very small handful of those in my lifetime. This was an interesting event in 2022 because we've seen an uptick in the last few years. You remember the tornado that struck Gaylord, of all places? Not a place we normally associate with tornadoes. I think this is an interesting little YouTube clip here.
It's not a tornado.
Come on, it's something.
It's very windy. It's the start of one.
It is one.
Oh yeah, see it back here. Whoa.
What do we do?
Just stay here, you're fine.
It's gonna come at us. I'm scared.
No, it's not. No, stop. Stay here.
I'm just moving out of the way of the cars.
It's gonna go that way.
How do you know?
Just
Oh God.
stay calm.
Oh my God. Jesus, please be with us.
See, it's
Told you it was one.
Whoa.
Oh dear Jesus. Just came off. Oh my God.
Okay, you're fine. It's already passed.
It is not. Oh my God. Oh my God.
That tornado turned deadly, hit a trailer park and killed several people. The following year in the spring, you probably remember very well, that's the first year that we really saw the impact of wildfires in Canada. We were choking on air here, something that those of us that are lifelong Michiganders just don't remember. And many of us might have hoped that that would be a one-off, but as we'll see, not so much. In 2024, the following year, we had in that May, Michigan's first ever tornado emergency. We're all familiar with tornado watches and tornado warnings, but there's actually a level above that, which is the tornado emergency, and there had never been one declared in the state of Michigan before 2024. And it's basically above and beyond a tornado warning. It means we're really not kidding, folks. This thing's killing people right now. And my friend Dr. Jeff Masters tells me that while we don't yet see an increase in the number of tornadoes in Michigan, although this year we're working on perhaps a new record, we are seeing tornadoes at locations and at times of year that we're not used to seeing them. That's what's so remarkable. And if you remember the ice storm that hit northern Michigan, this was the result of that April ice storm up in the Pigeon River forest. And the Mackinac Bridge had to be shut down because giant pieces of ice were falling from the towers and had potential to destroy cars or kill people. And basically from the bridge down to Grayling, the electrical grid was shut down for a number of days, and tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of poles had to be replaced. The number of trees downed and killed, and the number of branches downed, and the amount of trash that is now all over the forest floor in northern Michigan is going to make that whole upper third of the mitten much more vulnerable to wildfires going forward for decades. And this year we're right back into the critical bad air alerts again. Starting in June, this is the Mackinac Bridge. I never thought I would see it. You know, I spent a lot of time up in this area, which a lot of people think of as God's country. And to see this kind of air quality up there is beyond heartbreaking. In fact, I was camping just a few weeks ago with my son on a remote beach on Lake Michigan. And this is an unretouched photo from my iPhone of the sun going down. On that day, the air quality index in Jakarta, Indonesia was 156. An air quality index of about 30 would be what we call a nice fresh air day. In Detroit, it was 157, and there on the beach on Lake Michigan, it was 181. So we were breathing air that, according to NPR, was about the equivalent of smoking half a pack of cigarettes a day. And a lot of people were feeling this. And I'm very sorry to say that this is the new normal. There's going to be bad years and there's going to be less bad years. But this is something that we're passing along to our kids. And we better get very clear that these kind of surprises are going to keep coming, and they're going to be permanent in human terms until we stop adding more carbon and greenhouse gases to the atmosphere. So there are no climate havens. A lot of people had hoped that Michigan or northern Michigan could possibly be a climate haven. But actually, I heard from a friend that lives up in Marquette that the air quality index was 250 up there in June. So there is no place to run.
So are you.
And Consumers Energy kind of gave further confirmation to this in a recent earnings call. And remember, a corporation's earnings call is governed by securities laws. They can't lie. This is the closest thing to having them under oath. And they said over the last 20 years, we've seen an increase in the frequency of storms and higher wind speeds, some of the most extreme winds in the last 4 years, according to the CEO. We're clearly seeing the effects of climate change, he says. For example, the design standard for their transmission system was to withstand 40 miles per hour winds. Now they're having to change it to 80 mile per hour winds. And we're going to have to pay for that. So if you wonder why electric bills are going up, this is a huge reason why. Because our transmission system is outdated, it is rapidly approaching developed world quality, and we have to upgrade it because climate change is going to tear it down if we don't. The New York Times had this article, which was actually terrifying, about 2 years ago, talking about the impact of climate change on home insurance. If you've checked your home insurance bill lately, I'm hearing from people around the Midwest that their home insurance bills are going up by 20%, 30%, and we think about this as being an issue in Florida, Louisiana, or California, but this is an issue across the Midwest. And according to the Times, in 2023, insurers lost money on homeowners coverage in 18 states, including Michigan. That's up from 12 states 5 years ago and only 8 states in 2013. So insurers are being pushed into a corner by climate change, and some states they're having to completely withdraw from. Without insurance, banks won't issue a mortgage for a house. Without a mortgage, most people can't buy a home. With fewer buyers, real estate values decline, along with property tax revenues, leaving communities with less money for schools, police, and basic services. So this is something that just eats away at our well-being year by year and decade by decade until we start doing something about it. A few years ago, I had completely unexpectedly a local insurance provider reach out to me, longtime Republican member of the establishment in my community, very conservative person, reached out to me, and we've since had a few breakfasts and coffees to discuss these issues. He sent me an email about a year ago. He said, in my 30 years, I've never seen anything like what is happening right now. He's talking about the insurance business. I sit on several different advisory boards, and insurance companies are scared to death about the trends they are seeing. You're correct, it's not just coastal areas either, which, by the way, are nearly impossible to insure right now. I had 2 houses last week in Hilton Head where the premium went from $12,000 to over $30,000, and they were lucky to get the $30,000. There was nothing else on the market. So this isn't something abstract. This is something that's hitting you, that's costing you money right now, or will very soon. In fact, the chair of the Federal Reserve told the U.S. Senate just a few months ago that he looks forward to a time in the next 10 or 15 years when large parts of the country will be impossible to get a mortgage for a new house. So that's where we're at. So there's plenty to say about climate disasters. I call it climate porn. There's plenty of it on the web, and we could go on and on about that. But what I really want to talk about is the solutions, because we better get on it about the solutions, folks. This is really where it is, and it has to be done. It has to be done everywhere, but in particular here in the Midwest of the United States of America. If you can't do it here, then there's not much hope for the rest of the world.
Oh.
And the places where it's being done are in rural areas of the Midwestern states, because that's where we have to build wind farms and solar farms. And as much as we want to get solar panels on everybody's house and on every parking lot and all that stuff, you just heard how much difficulty that is as a political problem. Right now, we can cite utility scale clean energy on farmers' fields. In fact, they want it, and that's what I want to talk about.
Hello.
But the fossil fuel industry has been very shrewd in identifying these local township boards as areas where they can put pressure on, and they can threaten and bully, and they can create bottlenecks that are holding up dozens, if not hundreds, of projects across the state of Michigan. So fortunately, these forms of energy, solar and wind, are hands down the least cost way to put new electrical capacity on the grid. Don't let anybody lie to you about that. That is widely agreed upon, and it is easy to do that research. And that's why in 2024, 96% of the new U.S. power plants were solar, batteries, and wind. And it's because the market is speaking very loudly. And it's been that way actually for several years. And so don't let anybody tell you that they're suddenly going to make this go away. Donald Trump can't make this go away. These things are contracted to go on the grid by a certain point. And these are signed legal contracts that corporations have. The president can't make them go away. There's a tremendous amount of momentum in this, and it's going to continue. But we're going to have to fight for it at the local level. Okay, so one of the pushbacks that you'll get on this is, solar and wind, they're unreliable. They're unreliable and they're too expensive. So we have this survey from U.S. News and World Report on the grid reliability state by state of all the 50 states. And if we look at the top 10, 4 of them are states with very high penetration of renewable energy. These are the most reliable grids in the country. Nebraska, 37% renewable, mostly wind. South Dakota kind of doesn't count because nobody lives there, but 84% renewable. They've got a lot of hydro, a lot of wind. Nevada, mostly solar, and oops, I gave up the game here. Where do you suppose Michigan comes in on this?
43rd.
43rd. And we are over 80% gas, coal, and nuclear. In other words, if we follow the logic, the MAGA logic, it would be that would be the most reliable grid. But in fact, we're number 43 out of 50. I want to point you to Iowa here, which is in the top 10. This is a year old, 66% renewable. It's mostly wind. It's actually, they're up in the 70s this year. It's 70+% renewable energy, mostly wind, but a rapidly expanding solar in Iowa. I was just out there. And so you would think, again, if we follow the logic, if we follow Chris Wright's logic or Donald Trump's logic, Iowa should be a very, very expensive place for electricity. But is it?
He has no clue.
Iowa, you're paying a little over 13 cents a kilowatt hour for residential electricity.
Not one bit does he care about us.
In Michigan, we're paying almost 19 cents. And this is just from about 4 or 5 months ago. So we're paying 35% more for electricity that's much more expensive and much less reliable. What's wrong with this picture? Okay? Don't let anybody lie to you about this. This is the reality. Now, this is a very important video, and I want everybody to pay close attention. There's an event that happens every year in Houston. It's called Sarah Week, and it's sort of like Lollapalooza for energy tycoons. And so there's a lot of news coverage, and a lot of these guys come out, and we're talking about people who are not just Trump voters, they're probably Trump donors, okay? And so I want you to listen to what they're saying about the energy situation and where we find ourselves right now. So listen carefully.
Natural gas, nearly $5. That's a high input cost for you with a very heavy natural gas fleet. What does that mean for you and for residential customers? What happens when natural gas prices go higher, electricity prices track higher because natural gas sets the price of electricity in America over 90% of the time.
This is natural gas prices today. They're up over 10%. Yesterday, they were up over 8%. I've been telling you guys for about 3 weeks this is about to happen. It's going to get worse long term. We may see some short-term dips. Long-term, it's going to get worse.
So tariffs on energy might drive up natural gas prices, as an example. That would impact negatively residential rates for both electricity and gas, of course.
And so when you think about gas-fired generation, one of the things that has happened there is that we have a ton of demand for gas-fired turbines, which has hurt the ability to deliver them on time and has increased the cost. So if I want to build a gas-fired generation facility tomorrow, nobody's built more than we have in the last 20 years, I can't get it online till 20, 30 or later, and it's 3 times more expensive because demand has forced the price of the turbine up and the labor to build it. Because it's really hard to find skilled labor right now. They're all building data centers.
One thing that we use a whole lot of is steel. And we'll have to see how this washes out with steel tariffs. And we've been in contact with our suppliers, and that's another thing that can add a great deal of cost to what we do. All the pipe that goes in the ground and the tubulars that we use, that's permanent.
How long to build a power plant? Oh, easily 3 to 5 years, and that's if you're ready to rock and roll, right? If you're not ready, you're talking about a longer term thing. What you're saying is that if you wanted to build a natural gas power plant, costs have soared from even 2 years ago.
That's right.
Because we don't, the manpower and labor, whatever, all those things. So then does that make solar? You're the biggest renewables generator in the world. Does that make solar? Does that make wind more cost effective against gas?
It makes it more cost effective against gas, but more importantly, it's really the only generation that's available right now to meet the power demand that's here today. Folks can't wait to get electrons on the grid. They need power right now. If they have to wait, it's just going to chase the price of power up, and we're going to put all of our eggs in the gas-fired generation basket. Gas-fired generation, for example, under the framework agreement we announced today, won't be ready until 2030 or beyond at scale, and then nuclear, beyond that, because it's a lot of it's first of a kind technology.
Currently, we're producing about 106 billion cubic feet of natural gas a day. Our consumption, though, when you include exports, is 115. There's more going out than is coming in, and prices are already getting up there. As long as there's more coming out than there is going in, they will continue to rise. It is an impossibility that they won't. Why are we exporting so much natural gas? Because it's $14 in Europe. It's $4.50 here, $14 in Europe. So they're selling it where it's $14.
Okay, so
what?
gas is $4 here, it's $14 in Europe. They want to sell it in Europe, and that's why Secretary Wright